Very Bad Wizards is a podcast with a philosopher, my dad, and a psychologist, Dave Pizarro, having an informal discussion about issues in science and ethics. Please note that the discussion contains bad words that I'm not allowed to say, and knowing my dad, some very inappropriate jokes.
Game, recognized game, and you looking kinda unfamiliar right now.
The great Oz has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.
Welcome to Very Bad Wizards. I'm Tamler Summers from the University of Houston. Dave, it's 2023. I believe I ask you this question every new year. What are your New Year's resolutions?
And I think I'm usually pretty down on resolutions. But this year, the reasons I'm down is because by January 31st, I never follow through on anything. So I know myself, so I'm pretty down. But this year, I'm going to give it the old college try, as what people say. And I'm going to really try to read more books. I feel like I just have let my book reading fall off so badly. I just used to love reading a lot more, and I don't know why. I think it's the digital age. But I signed up for a Goodreads account, and I'm genuinely going to try. I'm going to aim for 50 books, which
Wow. Like Lex Friedman.
Like Lex Friedman, although I will say I counted the Seneca book that we read for today as a book. So
Yeah, what are you going to read? Do you have a 50?
no way, not at all. I'm going to read the Deadwood Bible. That's one of them.
Yes. Nice.
Thank you. Tamler got me the Deadwood Bible as a gift.
Yes.
And I have a few, but I'm open for recommendations, especially good nonfiction books. I think I'm going to start with finally read the Douglas Hofstadter I'm a Strange Loop book.
Oh, good. Yeah. And then we can do an episode on it if you like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm usually more upbeat on resolutions, but I do them by month. That was a tradition we started in my family, about 7 or 8 years back. So to make it more manageable, so that but they're boring. It's improve my core, and they're also more unspecific. They're too unspecific right now to really have crystallized into something. I think I'm in good shape and I get a good amount of exercise, but I could use a stronger core. I don't know. Right. People talk about that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's everything, right?
It always sounded like the kind of people who buy their pants at Lululemon speak that way. But
exactly.
But it's
or people who love the Stoics. That's
right now, my back is completely shot from traveling with luggage and stuff.
Yeah.
So I also need to strengthen my core.
Yeah. It's just the older you get, you just start to do the things you want to do, like play tennis or swim. You just need it, or else you're just going to be constantly injured. I taking my I took my dog for a walk, Charlie. This was about 3 weeks ago, and he does this annoying thing where I have him off leash in the neighborhood, but there's this 2 blocks away from where he does this, people put out bowls for cats so that cats can come and eat them. Mm-hmm. And so this is the kind of dog he is. He strategically takes a shit at the end of this block. And then while I'm picking it up, he takes off. He's almost 14 years old. He's a month away from being 14, but he has figured this out, that if he takes off, it's dark, it's hard to see him, he will be able to get to the cat food thing before I find him. So I put him on a leash because I had figured it out by then, and I just wrenched my back trying to put on his leash, that when I had to call my daughter to pick me up, and then I spent an hour and a half on the floor because I couldn't get up. There was just no way that I could get up, and I was all right, New Year's resolution.
Strengthen my core.
Strengthen my core.
And get some Lululemon pants.
Yeah, I have like in the weird. I have a Lululemon gift card, which
I mean, it's comfortable clothes. Really.
Yeah, no, my plan is to go to Lululemon, buy like $130 sweatpants, and then kill myself. That's the.
I want to kill myself because I'm starting to see Instagram ads for like men over 40, improve your flexibility, like that kind of shit. Like, yeah.
All right. So today we are going to talk about the Stoics. This was something that a while back our Patreon listeners voted in as the topic. Stoicism won. I don't know why we haven't done a full episode on Stoicism before, but
I think it was just a problem of trying to find what text to read.
Yeah.
So we just settled on one. You picked one, I guess.
Oh, wow. You're just throwing me under the bus. Well, we couldn't do all of the meditations or all of Epictetus or so anyway, we picked, this was a suggestion from a listener, Seneca's On the Happy Life. And it's an interesting one. It's a little different than a lot of the other Stoic work that I've read. So I'm excited to talk about that. But first, we are going to, do you have a new beat to this or just some kind of like intro sound effect?
Everything is my fault. Guilty.
All right. Should I start with my guilty confession? Okay. This requires two little pieces of background that might be obvious, but bear repeating. So listeners might know that the origins, in fact, of your joking about me being Kantian, I think just come from the fact that I'm such a champion of reason. I like rationality. I want to live my life according to the principles, essentially first principles of logic, you know.
Yeah.
And the second thing that people may or may not know is that I was born in Argentina. Half my family's from Argentina. So I've already told you this one, but I think you're one of the only people I told. Much to my disappointment and shame, while the World Cup was happening, happens once every 4 years. Argentina had been trying to win and getting so close for like 36 years. We lost the first game to Saudi Arabia, but then won every other game after that. I found myself engaging in shameful, superstitious behavior.
Just rational, normal, like sports watching behavior.
I can't even know. It was terrible. I can't even explain it. I still don't have any reasons that I can give for why I did it. I don't believe that I believe in it. It's just, and this is all it was. Like I think my jerseys, whatever the normal sports people would do, like wear the team's jersey, like they were in storage. So I did this stupid thing where I got my Apple Watch and I put two different bands, one light blue and one white, to match the colors of the Argentinian flag. And I wore it on my right wrist. And since they won, I couldn't every morning I woke up, I was like, I got to put it back on. And they kept winning, Tamler. They kept winning. And it was like I was under just like, it was as if like a witch had put a spell on me. Like, I don't know.
There's an easy explanation for this. And I know this because like we've been doing this for over 10 years and I've never seen you this passionately connected to an outcome of an event as you should have been because it was incredible. And by the way, congratulations for winning one of the freaking greatest sporting events that I've ever seen in my whole life.
Incredible. It made me happy to hear you say that. Yeah. Thank you.
We'd been texting throughout a lot of the tournament and like you actually cared about it. And once you care that much, then of course you're going to start doing what normal sports people do, which is correctly identifying the causal effect that you can have on a game or a match because of what you do. Like it's just logic.
I wonder if the way that it works, like speaking just down to the causality, is that all of the Argentina fans in the world need to do all of their weird superstitions at the same time. And if one of us fails, like then it ruins it for everyone. Is that how?
I mean, I think so. Yeah. And like, I don't know, maybe it's just a percentage and you don't want to be among the I don't know exactly what the physical laws are at play,
but like phenomenologically, it doesn't feel like collective action. It feels like you have to put it on. Like
it feels
you
like it's
will
all
have failed.
on you.
Yeah.
Yes. Totally. It's a weird thing. We've talked about this. I really do at some level believe it, to the point at least where I will get mad at somebody else if they're not doing the thing that we agreed we had to do or something like that.
Yoel. Fucking
what did he do?
Man. During the final, Argentina was up 2-0.
Yeah.
And we were in the second half.
You told me about this.
Oh my
God.
And there's a saying in soccer that 2-0 is like the most tenuous lead that you could have. And
because all they need to do is score one, and then it's like balls
and
out.
Then you're
anything
fighting
can
for
happen.
your life.
Yeah.
And so Yoel texts me, "Congratulations, by the way."
Oh my God. I remember you told me this.
Oh man, I was so mad. And
did you
not soon afterwards they scored 2 goals within 90 seconds. So I know causally, I know that's why.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, you did your part. That's how delicate and fragile the whole situation is you're coming up with some workaround with your Apple Watch and then like Yoel can just fuck it up and you know that he's a pure rationalist about it too.
Oh, man, he must be either that or because he was in the Netherlands for so long, like he was just trying to like actually fuck me over because of how we defeated the Dutch.
Anyway, that's a good one. Yeah, and welcome to the world of normal sports fandom.
It's a terrible life. The amount of suffering. People think that, you must be happy. No, I'm just relieved. Like, I'm happy. Like, I was happy when it happened. But it's more relief than anything,
I have a faculty member, colleague, who's a big Arsenal fan, and he considers it a burden that he cares so much about the outcome of Arsenal matches. And he says, I would get rid of it if I could, but I can't, so I just put up with it. But he doesn't find it fun in any, like, he just finds it to be something like a cross to bear.
I feel what he's saying, but like at the same time, the sheer joy when you win and like when all of Argentina was celebrating and you get to feel like part of something like that just overwhelms any of the stuff,
I agree. It's like, and in fact, like something we might talk about in the second segment is letting yourself be vulnerable to contingency and fortune has its good side,
That's right.
And possibly an overridingly good side. We'll have to see. All right, my guilty confession is more somber. Yours is should be like a gilded confession. Actually, you should be proud of your confession. So I'll take that as you getting me back for the time that you gave some heartfelt one. And then I was like, I think it's funny when Trump calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. So this time, this is one I feel bad about. I think I had it in mind to say one other time, but it involves drunk driving and having done it. And having done it more than once, not a lot, but more than once, and I don't mean drunk you've had two glasses of wine at dinner or something like that, or 3, but I mean seriously, shouldn't be on the road, knew I shouldn't be on the road, and
you're aiming, you're not driving,
you're aiming. Yeah. And it's just when you think about what that could lead to, it's just kind of unforgivable. And I don't feel like there's anything else in my life where I'm that, or I have been that irresponsible, at least post, I'd like to say that this was when I was 18 or 19, but actually I was way better about it then. It's more it was later. And so yeah, it's a strange thing because it feels in some ways I'm sure it's not even it feels like one of the worst things that I've ever that I've done, and yet I did it multiple times, and Yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think about that? How bad is that? To have like,
No.
I could go into a detail. Like, I never hurt anybody. I did one time kind of just fuck up my own car but like it was not even clear that was because I was drunk. It was like in Colorado driving on these roads. But yeah, like, what do you think about that? How bad it is?
I mean, I am with you. Like, there are times that I know I shouldn't have been driving, and I did, and it's like much shame to me, and I don't ever do that. But it's one of those weird things where, you like the deontological rule or whatever, the utilitarian rule, like really needs to be like, it doesn't matter that we never hurt anybody, like you really have to believe that it doesn't matter if you'd never hurt anybody, because
that's moral luck. That's pure moral luck. Yeah.
The counterfactual that like we've escaped, our lives is something so terrible that it's hard to represent that like constantly when you're making those decisions. So like knock on wood, but oh my God, man. Yeah. And this is why like the rise of Uber is I think such a good thing. I don't know if there are any stats on whether these things have gone down, but like it's so much easier now.
I got scared straight not that long before Uber became a thing. Like there was one time where it was just so bad that and that was it. Like but I think you're right. Like it needs to be a Kantian deontological, like just no, hard line, no. You just never do it. And however much of a pain in the ass it is that night or the next day or whatever, you just don't do it. And the lesson also is I think like, I don't know what the ratio is, but if you take like a certain amount of edibles, it can counteract how drunk you are and just find that perfect balance.
Caffeinated, do they sell caffeinated edibles? So that you could, I think it's cocaine you're thinking of, but whatever.
Yeah. Should we talk about some favorite things from this past year?
Yeah.
So we talked about top 5, but we didn't think we would have time for that. So I'm not even going to say these are my top 3, but these are 3 things that I consumed for the first time, that I watched for the first time in 2022.
All right.
What's your first one?
I'm going to put, it might be obvious to some people, but the last season of Better Call Saul is definitely up there for me. Like, I think it wrapped up so nicely, and I think that it showed itself to be I think a superior show to Breaking Bad. Just everything, they upped their game, and I had a blast watching it. Like, I was very invested in it. So
yeah, I didn't. Well, I watched like the first season and a half, liked it, but just never fully could get over the brother.
Yeah, you should binge it. Because I want to know if you feel the same way that I do. I think that their storytelling, their character development, their cinematography, everything is just notched up. I feel like there were some kludgy parts of Breaking Bad that I didn't care for. The other thing that it has that Breaking Bad did have, but that I know you and I both really appreciate, is the patience and the non-condescension to the audience, like taking its time to really tell the story, even if that means long periods of what some people might think is boring.
Yeah, and it also had something that, like, even in the time that I watched it, it had something that Breaking Bad didn't have, which is just a great female character. Like
it's true.
Kim, what's her name?
Yeah, she's good. Kim Wexler.
Kim Wexler, yeah, and she reminds me of like I don't know if it was like a Boston, like the kind of
like working class.
Girl. Yeah, well, yeah, just kind of a tough Boston broad, like, but in a very, like, I don't know, also warm, and she was
She's great. She's great.
All right. My number 3 is a show. This is like the new age of television, where I hadn't heard of this show a month ago. Never heard of it. And my, Eliza comes home from college. We're looking for a new show to watch. And I literally looked at a list because we watched 1899, which did you hear is not getting renewed?
I heard it got canceled. Yeah. I'm kind of glad I didn't invest in it, but yeah.
Yeah. So we watched that. We needed something new. And I looked up. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this, but everyone seems to love it. Babylon Berlin. Have you know anything about this?
I've heard of it. I thought you were going somewhere else with this, but yeah.
Where did you think I was going?
White Lotus.
Oh, well, I'd heard of White Lotus.
Well, I mean, I don't know, a month.
White Lotus, I really enjoyed the second season of, but it's not my top 3.
Babylon Berlin. I've not watched it. I've heard of it, but not that much. I remember it was on my list to watch, but I completely forgot about it.
Takes place in like late 20s Berlin. It's kind of a spy thriller. It's one camp of it is the communist element of Germany and Berlin and the Trotskyites versus the Stalinists. So that's one element of it. Obviously, there's the rising tide. You can see it's simmering of fascism, but there's no Nazi element yet, at least in the first season that I've watched. But the thing that's just so impressive and amazing about it is, like at every level, the filmmaking is phenomenal. The writing is really good. The performances are down the line great. It's just like I can't believe that there are shows of this quality that are just out there that you might not know about.
It's mind blowing. Like we've talked about this so many times, but like imagine when you're a kid, like if one of these per year came around, you'd be mind blown.
Yeah, and it just didn't also. Like, there was nothing like it. It was like, NYPD Blue in the 90s or something. And then the rest of them were good, but they weren't even at the level of just some really high quality thing like Babylon Berlin. It's on Netflix. I think there's already been 3 seasons of it. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of great TV, like my next one, I think is in this category. I'm Mayor of Easttown. Did you ever watch it?
Yeah.
It came out in 2021, but I watched it for the first time this year. And
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. I didn't think I would care for it that much, but I really liked it. And I think people should give it a shot if you haven't. Like it might depend on what you feel about Kate Winslet, but I think she does a great job.
I like Kate Winslet a lot. I think she's great in the show. I remember just being a tiny bit underwhelmed by it, but thinking that it was really good and was happy I watched it. But I'm surprised that you had such a positive reaction to it.
Yeah, it was one of the best shows. Like there were maybe I went into it without that high expectations at all.
She was great. I remember she was great. I remember it had a decent ending. Like it had a fairly satisfying resolution to the mystery.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also part of the times is that you see these shows and
no, seriously, like Bella was talking to me about White Lotus season 1. I was like, who was in that one again?
Yeah. That one, the show that about Sydney Sweeney and her friend having the drugs and then they're taken away from them and then it's never the same after that. I liked White Lotus season 2 though.
It was very
thoroughly enjoyed it in all the ways I think that that most people did.
White Lotus might have made my list, but it was more of a guilty pleasure than anything. But I really liked season 2, and with season 1, I had this funny feeling where I wasn't that into it, but I couldn't stop watching it. Like I was like, well, I got to watch the next episode. I felt a little trashy.
By the way, this isn't on my list because I don't know, like there's only 3, but Atlanta seasons 3 and 4, and maybe especially 4, is so fucking good. And the fact that people aren't raving about it and in fact they seem a little down on it. They've cooled. Yeah. I like, it's just mind boggling to me. Like I get it more with season 3 than season 4, but I think they're both just totally brilliant. And he's clearly somebody that like that whole team, what's the director's name?
Hiro Murai.
Hiro Murai, yeah. And him and Hiro Murai and all the performances, they're just so good. Like they're just at the top of their game. And like if they're gonna do something a little offbeat or not what you expect or not what you want, like who gives a shit? It's just like these are people that are just supremely talented, giving you something that is always compelling to watch. And I love it. But that's not mine, so I should stop talking.
Well, I want to say this. I think what happens sometimes is when the creative person behind something might feel like they're getting shoved into a category, they push out of it, and I think that makes for great art, but it does lead to disappointment. So like I remember The Wire season 1, I was like, yeah, this is about some good drug shit, some like black shit, like some, and then like season 2 was like some Greek
dock
shit.
workers.
I was like, yeah, dock workers, Greek. Like, no, this isn't what I signed up for.
No, I want
that second
Avon
season
and
ended
Stringer
up. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And that second season is now my favorite season. You know?
That's totally like that. I remember. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but on the rewatches, season 2 just kept climbing in the rankings.
Yeah,
you know.
Yep,
and
exactly.
It's the same thing. I think also there's something about Donald Glover where I think people feel like he might have too high an opinion of himself or something. Yeah. And so they want to take him down. And maybe part of that is because he's black, but I think it's more his artistic ambitions that people think he, doesn't necessarily hasn't earned or something. You know, like I think he really thinks he's like David Lynch or David Chase or something. And like, I think that's fine. Like, good.
Yeah. I know.
That shit is.
It's sort of dumb to judge the art by like whether or not you like what they say in interviews. I mean, I get it. Like we all want, like humility. We value humility. And so I don't care for it when Donald Glover goes and says that he's amazing. Like, I'm like, just let your art speak for itself. But that doesn't mean it's not amazing.
Right, exactly. So my actual number 2 is the new Park Chan-wook movie, Decision to Leave, which I'm happy people are seeing and people seem to like. And it's on a lot of top 10 lists. But I feel like it still isn't quite getting as much credit as it deserves because it's a little lower key than some of his other ones like Old Boy or The Handmaiden or the other movies in the Vengeance trilogy, but it's not really that low key. And now I've seen it like 2.5 times and it's just freaking awesome. Like it's just so well done start to finish. It's something that sticks with you. You're still thinking about afterwards. You're wondering, you realize that every second of it, you're just kind of glued to the screen. And even if you don't know exactly what's going on or why, you're compelled by it. And then when it all wraps, it has a fantastic ending. And
is it a murder mystery?
Yes, kind of. But it's really about a cop who's investigating a woman for killing her husband, and clearly there's some sort of attraction between the two of them. Very kind of consciously Hitchcockian in the including some direct homages to it. But he has so much of his own style that it's in no way something where you could call derivative or anything like that. It just seems to be a kind of culmination of his art in a way that actually, for me, The Handmaiden wasn't quite, even though I think that's a great movie, but this just really is.
Is it, does it top Banshees of Inisherin for you?
For me, yes, which I also really loved and which is an honorable mention. I think it's phenomenal. I'd be surprised if we don't do an episode on Banshees because it's also very much, you loved that too, right?
Yeah, I loved it too. And I didn't put it on my list, even though it would trump all of the things that I just have to, I don't even know if this is part of my official list, but I have to tell people about this channel because I love it so much. So one of the things that's on my list is just a YouTube channel by a guy named Ace Vane, Acevane. And I feel like it just hits every button for me. So it might not be anybody's thing at all, but this guy has given me so much pleasure over the year. Like he's made me laugh my ass off. Ace Vane. ACE, it's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He's a guy who takes largely old comic cartoons like Super Friends, Justice League, Batman, and he clips them and does voiceovers of like just ghetto comedy shit. And like I have spent hours watching and rewatching some of these skits. He does the voices for all of them. Like, like he makes Wonder Woman kind of like a hoe, and like and Bruce, Batman's a little bitch, and
that's very
and
funny.
He also does it to a bunch of other stuff like the Peanuts cartoons, and it's very talented. Like he's just so consistently funny. But I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea because Nikki can't stand it. And so that's the qualification.
These are the kinds of things that redeem the internet.
Oh my God. I know. He's so good.
It's
and the
like-
thing is, he doesn't have that many like YouTube subscribers. And I think this guy should be up at like millions. Like,
Yeah. It just makes you realize how many talented people are out there. Like same thing with these random TV shows that are just like better than any TV shows ever made before like 1990, like
Right.
it's just like, and now there's just thousands of these things. Like, it's just like, there's so many talented people out there and we just never knew about it.
I know. I know.
It's,
I love that
to
wherever this
see
guy is from, I have no idea, but I love that I get to just see his his creativity is just incredible. Yeah.
So my number one, this is one that is from 1975, but I happened to see for the first time this year. And really another one where I didn't really know anything about it. Had heard the name of the movie, but had no real sense of what it was. Picnic at Hanging Rock. It's an Australian movie directed by Peter Ware, based on a 1967 novel. It's this insane movie about some like boarding school of just girls in Australia in 1900, and they all go out for a picnic, and 3 schoolgirls and a teacher just go missing under mysterious circumstances. This is on Valentine's Day in 1900, and like I don't want to say anything more about it because A, I don't understand it completely, and B, just I think it's really good to go into any movie, but this movie maybe more than most, like completely blind, but it would just put me in a trance. It's completely mesmerizing. It's mysterious. It just rules. I love it. And like, honestly, I don't even know what it's about. It's definitely about sex and teen sex and sexual repression, but there's nothing like overt on that way. There's nothing explicit. It just kind of oozes that. And I don't know, like there's like this movie completely blew me away when I watched it. And I just couldn't believe that this is a kind of masterpiece by a guy who is fairly well known. Peter Ware did Witness and The Truman Show and, kind of normal movies.
Dead Poets.
And then he just did this. What were you saying?
Dead Poets Society. He did.
Dead Poets Society. Yeah, like that's kind of unbelievable. The same director did Dead Poets Society and this.
The way you describe it sounds very like The Leftovers kind of vibe.
It has a little bit of The Leftovers vibe without having the kind of despair and kind of gloom that The Leftovers have. But the mood of it is very exactly that. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I never even made that connection, but that's very good. We didn't include anything that we talked about this year. That was the one caveat, like you said. Yeah.
But just a couple of suggestions. Licorice Pizza was on my list.
Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad you like that.
It's very good. Yeah.
All right, let's take a break and we will come back to talk about Stoicism. Today's episode is brought to you by GiveWell.org. When you give to charity, how much impact will your donation actually have? This question can be hard, if not impossible, to answer. Honestly, I have no idea how I would go about trying to answer that question. Most charities can't tell you how your money will be used or how much good it will accomplish. You may know it could theoretically help a cause, but how? Or more importantly, how much? If you want to help people living in poverty with evidence-backed, high-impact charities, I recommend you check out GiveWell. GiveWell spends over 40,000 hours each year researching charitable organizations and only directs funding to a few of the highest impact, evidence-backed opportunities they've found. Over 100,000 donors have used GiveWell, including a bunch of our own listeners giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to GiveWell over these past years. And all of that has combined to donate more than $1 billion to these organizations. Rigorous evidence suggests that these donations will save over 150,000 lives and improve the lives of millions more. And using GiveWell's research is completely free. They want donors, as many as possible, to make informed decisions about high-impact giving. They publish all of their research and recommendations on their site for free, no sign-up required, and then they allocate your tax-deductible donation, should you choose to make one, to the charity or fund you choose without taking a cut. This past year, I gave to Helen Keller International, providing supplements to prevent vitamin A deficiency. These are all their top charities. They are helping people who desperately need help right now. And if you've never donated to GiveWell's recommended charities before, you can have your donation matched up to $100 before the end of the year or as long as matching funds last. So you can have it matched up to $100. To claim that match, go to givewell.org or givewell.org/verybadwizards and pick podcast and enter the Very Bad Wizards at checkout. Make sure they know that you heard about GiveWell from Very Bad Wizards to get your donation matched. Thanks, as always, to GiveWell for sponsoring this episode. Welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. This is the time where we like to take a moment and thank all the people who get in touch with us, who form the Very Bad Wizards community, whether that is emailing us or tweeting at us or joining the subreddit or following us on Instagram or Facebook. Although you're kind of a fringe member of the community if you interact with us on Facebook, but that's fine. That's it's your choice. And if you would like to do any of those things, you can email us at verybadwizards@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at Peas, at Tamler, at Very Bad Wizards. You can join the subreddit, Very Bad Wizards. You can follow us on Instagram at Very Bad Wizards, like us on Facebook, and we would be especially grateful if you would subscribe to us on Spotify and rate us on Apple Podcasts, because that is how other people discover us and go on their own journey, their own Very Bad Wizards odyssey.
Right. Or you could just tell them to listen to.
That's true.
To Very Bad Wizards. Tell a friend.
Yeah.
And you could also email us to tell us what we got wrong when we discussed your paper, as David Chester did recently.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
he was the voodoo doll task.
Yeah, and I just want to give him a shout out because he's a trooper. He emailed us a detailed sort of discussion about what he thinks we got wrong. And I know it can't be easy to listen to us be jerks about your paper. So we appreciate he's a listener.
It's funny, like we don't have that where we could just be listening to something that we like.
Nobody cares.
that we like, and then all of a sudden something we do just gets totally shit on. I mean, I suppose like for like weird studies or could take a drive-by at us or something, but but that's like... Right. It's not really going to happen, hopefully. Yeah.
You know, we're not important enough. So there you go, Dave Chester. You were important enough that we that we chose to discuss you. If you want to support us in more tangible ways, we really appreciate it. There are a variety of ways you could do that. You can find them if you go to our Very Bad Wizards support page. Just go to verybadwizards.com, click on support. You'll see it there. You can donate to us one-time or recurring donation on PayPal. You can buy our swag, T-shirts, mugs, and you can support us on Patreon. If you do that, you'll get a number of extra things at the various tiers. At $1 and up, you get all of our episodes completely ad-free, and you get access to the little compilations of beats that I've made. At $2 and up per episode, you get access to all of our bonus content, the whole back catalog of all of our bonus episodes. in our recent bonus content, which includes the audio version of Ask Us Anything that we do monthly and the Ambulators.
And if you're not a subscriber to the Ambulators podcast, there's something deeply wrong with your priorities.
I feel like it's like it's officially better than our regular
way
podcast.
Better than our main podcast. It's not even like in the same league. Yeah.
So yeah, you get access to all that stuff at $5 and up. You also get to vote on an episode topic, and this episode is an example of the power that you have
and how it can be abused.
How it can be abused, and we use many of the ideas that you give us, not just the one that gets voted on.
That's right. We already did the metaphors one. That was in this past group's finalists, I think.
That's right. And at $5 and up, you get access to all the stuff that I mentioned before, but also to our 5-part Brothers Karamazov video, series, a couple lectures from Tamler on Plato Symposium, a few lectures from my intro psych course. And at $10 and up, you get all of that stuff, plus the ability to ask us questions for the Ask Us Anything segment that we do, and access to the video, the largely unedited video feed. Compelling cinema, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. And we have some good questions coming up for this next round. So
that's right. One's coming up. If you sign up in time, you probably could get one more question in. So thank you to everybody for all your support. We really appreciate it.
All right, let's get to our discussion of Stoicism. Thanks to our beloved Patreon supporters who voted on this for the episode topic. So you want to talk about just what our first impressions of Stoicism are, because I definitely have more of a connection to it than you do. I teach it. I have lectured on it. But I feel kind of a deep ambivalence about Stoicism that it's not even fully clear to me why I'm so ambivalent. It has so many things that I would think that I would like. It's philosophy, but it's practical. It's very practical. It actually makes a difference. It has so much overlap with Buddhist philosophy, both at the metaphysical and at the sort of ethical level. And of course, I'm into that stuff. And it is pretty naturalistic. It has some weird metaphysics, but not really. And nothing really hangs on the weirdness of the metaphysics. And you could certainly read it in a more Newtonian deterministic way.
Right. And I would think that sort of Buddhist flavor of approaching life without the metaphysics would attract you to it. But maybe, now I'm thinking maybe what actually attracts you to Buddhism really is the metaphysics.
It's actually a good point. Yeah. And I think its metaphysics are more worked out and interesting Buddhism than Stoics. But also just what other kind of philosophy has this much of an impact? There's probably 50 podcasts on Stoicism that are, among the top 1% of podcasts. If you look on Amazon for Greek and Roman ethics, top books, because I was doing this and trying to find a translation for what we were doing. It's I don't know, 80% about Stoics.
So why is that? That is weird to me. And I remember seeing Stoic podcasts on the top charts, but I never gave it much thought. And then as I was preparing for this episode, I started to see this sort of I think there is a bit of combining ideas of masculinity and of self-sufficiency and grin and bear it, military style kinds
resilience.
Of dudes. Resilience, who are into Stoicism. And I was curious, going into reading Seneca, because my knowledge of any of the Stoic philosophers is so minimal. Basically what we just read and what I read of Marcus Aurelius, way back when I was maybe late high school or early college, which in my mind was cool. I don't remember shit about it. And so I was curious what I would find in here. And there is some of that in what we read. But is it this, what I'm talking about? The Navy SEAL the people who listen to Navy SEAL dudes, that.
So first of all, there's like a really good side of that, right? Like the James. Yeah,
I didn't
James
mean to sound
Stockwell.
judgy about it. It's just that flavor.
Well, no. There's definitely a way to be judgy about it, I think. I was just saying that like James Stockwell famously took the work of Epictetus with him to Vietnam and said that it was crucial for his surviving being a POW. Like he just studied that book, and it's what got him through that experience. It's taught at all the military academies, Stoicism, and especially I think Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, obviously. You know, it has that interesting thing where both like the three most famous, at least Roman Stoics, one was a slave, one was an emperor, and one was the one we're going to talk about, kind of a somewhat ambitious politician. You asked, why is it so successful and popular right now? It is a very individualistic ethic, I think, is a big part of it. When you see problems in the world, they are problems that you feel like only you can have a real impact on how it affects you. It's not something that you should depend on other people. The whole ethic is that you should live in a way that doesn't depend on fortune or things out of your control, and you don't control other people. And
you control your choices.
You control your choices and your actions to some degree. And so that's what it focuses on. I think that fits the condition that we're in right now in a way that makes it useful.
Yeah, maybe there's like extra also pushback against what's viewed as like the whiny generations. As sperm Gen Xers, we are more stoic, perhaps.
Definitely. And that's just old people saying this new generation. You know, maybe with some reason, maybe legitimately, who knows? But all they do is complain and whine about how they're harmed. And
yeah, sometimes I want to throw Marcus Aurelius at my students.
But the Navy SEAL thing you're talking about, that kind of like it has a bro-ish quality to it as well, Stoicism.
And it was funny to see Seneca talking about like the effeminate qualities, like dissing the effeminate qualities.
But like all that said, there's some really beautiful, useful, great stuff in there. And if you want philosophy to actually not just talk about pseudo problems and Sudoku puzzles, glorified Sudoku puzzles, then like you should be applauding it, even if you disagree with certain key tenets. So I have more thoughts about what it is that keeps me from fully embracing it, but maybe we should get into Seneca a bit.
Yeah, before we get into it, can I ask you two related questions? There is very much a common idea of what it means to be Stoic, and there's very much a common idea of what it means to be Epicurean, and both of them are not quite accurate, right?
Yeah.
And so can we talk a little bit about the difference between Stoic philosophy and the common notion of what it means to be Stoic, which is, I think, associated with just being maybe not unfeeling, but at least not expressive of feelings. It's like a very much like a muted response to life. But I didn't read that
detached.
Much. Yeah. And that's not how I read Seneca at all. I mean, a little bit, but.
And I think of all of them, like Marcus Aurelius has there's a kind of pall that hangs over his writings. He's writing the Meditations on the battlefield. You know, he's an emperor, a Roman emperor in a time where the last like 10 emperors have been assassinated or have just killed everybody like wantonly. Like that, you can understand why there's a little bit of gloom that hangs over Marcus Aurelius, in addition to all the like inspiring stuff. And there's a kind of austerity to Epictetus. Seneca just seems like a normal person trying to get through life and aware of the kind of contradictions and conflicts and the ways in which the human soul is, I don't know, torn, pulled in all these different directions and trying to just make the best of it. I definitely think we're reading something on The Happy Life which pushes back against this idea of Stoicism in a way that's healthy, that it's emotionless, that it's joyless, that it's just austere. But then I think a lot of Stoicism can be like that. And they do say a lot of things like, don't get too attached to your kids. You know, think of your kids like you think of a vase. Epictetus has that, you know, like, so when a vase breaks, you don't get that upset. So don't get that upset when your kid dies. The modern champions of Stoicism, like Massimo, what's his last name? Pagliucci, yeah. And Ryan Holiday, who does the Daily Stoic podcast, like they're very upbeat and almost a little defensive too of this aspect of Stoicism. But there's a reason why people think that of the Stoics. It's not based on nothing. I think there is a kind of humorless austerity to some of their writings. And I think, you know, in contrast to the Epicureans, there doesn't seem to be a kind of a lightness, a kind of enjoyment of life. Everything seems to be like a project of making yourself a better person.
Right. Well, it's funny because, by the way, it's Pigalucci. I just want to correct myself.
Pigalucci.
It's funny that this is called On the Happy Life. Because, you know, immediately I'm like, well, do the Stoics care that much about being happy? Like I thought they didn't. So maybe, as you say, it's kind of a different flavor, or at least an attempt to focus on a different aspect of what it means to be Stoic.
At the same time, Marcus Aurelius had 14 kids and only like 6 of them survived. So you could, and I think listeners have said this to us, you can understand maybe why you might want to cultivate a slightly different attitude towards something that I think both of us think is sacred, like, you know, your relationship with your child, because it wasn't necessarily expected that the children would live or that your loved one might die. And especially if you're living in the time of the Roman Empire, where you just had these fucking insane psychopaths, just like wantonly cruel psychopaths running the country, so that you might think that you're not at all in control of your fate or the fate of anybody that you cared about. Like there is something, I think, that makes sense about cultivating that kind of attitude. But even still, you know, there's something about it that just is a little cold. And as much as the modern popularizers will say, no, it's not cold at all, it's about joy and resilience, and I'm never fully convinced by those things.
Right. And we've talked plenty about like our problem with that whole detachment. But it's true. We have led lives where we can enjoy our attachments in a way that, I thought the same thing. When infant mortality is like 50% or whatever, it does make sense to not get too attached to any one of them.
All right, let's turn to the essay and maybe just talk briefly about Seneca and his life. He's an interesting figure among the Stoics, kind of a middle ground in some ways in terms of his position between Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. Did you do any research into his life, his biography?
Yeah, I did. And it was pretty fascinating. So he was very wealthy, like apparently filthy rich, and was, I don't know, like rose in the ranks as a politician, I guess, but was a tutor to Nero, right?
Yep.
Of all the things to happen, to have your pupil turn into Nero must not be too satisfying.
I mean, he was also like exiled before that. So he was exiled. Caligula almost killed him, but for some reason decided not to. So, I mean, they were all they're constantly being assassinated or fearful of being assassinated and then just killing everybody around them. Seneca was Nero's tutor when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And then ultimately Nero said, you have to kill yourself.
Right. And it seemed like Nero was jealous. Seneca was apparently very talented, very gifted. He was very like persuasive. He had talents and abilities that maybe, people were envious of. And you get in this text, a lot of the first bit of the text is like, fuck all you haters. Like, it's like a very much like, stop hating on me. You're all just jealous.
Yeah, there's a defensiveness to it, I think you said earlier. And I think part of the reason is because he was rich, he was somewhat ambitious, he was working with somebody and teaching somebody who he knew could not have been further away from the Stoic ideal. And he enjoyed a lot of the things that Stoics supposedly turned down their nose at. And I think he really did enjoy them more than a lot of other Stoics did. And part of this essay or letter or whatever it is trying to reconcile that, trying to reconcile Stoic teachings with his life and the life of a normal, successful Roman aristocrat.
Yeah, which I like that part. I mean,
did you read about his death?
Yeah, but refresh me. So he was told like he had to kill himself. It seemed kind of dramatic. He seemed like he had a flair
theatrical.
For some drama.
Yeah. Well, but it's also it had like a dark comedy aspect of it. So his hero is Socrates. His second hero is Cato, who also killed himself in a fairly dramatic way. But Socrates is kind of his ultimate model, and he had like the perfect death as described in the Phaedo of drinking the hemlock with all his friends around him. And Seneca wanted to model that. And I think legitimately, sincerely wanted to model that. And so I think he tried to slit his
he slit his wrists and it didn't work.
It didn't work. So he's just bleeding everywhere, but he's still alive. So then he's like, all right, that's okay. I'm gonna drink poison now. And
he's like Rasputin.
Yeah, exactly. He drinks poison, still doesn't die. and then has to go to a steam bath, I guess. And that finally finished him off.
Yeah.
It's partly, I guess, kind of moving, but also could be in a Naked Gun movie,
I know. I think what I read was he was just old and didn't have enough blood circulating. He's like Mr. Burns.
Right. But there's something very poignant about that. He's been waiting his whole life. Stoics is something we can talk about, but they love to dwell and contemplate death. And he really had this hero and model who he genuinely thought was the ideal to try to live up to. And he actually does it. He's like, okay, can I write down my will? And then the Nero's people said, no, you can't. And he's like, okay. And so he just does it. And he tells his friends he doesn't want a burial, and everything's going according to plan except that he won't die, Yeah,
it's pretty funny. All right, so let's dive into the text, I guess. Can I just start with at the very beginning, he says something that is so central, I think, to his point, which is that the more you strive for happiness, the less likely you are to find it, which I think is just a deeply true thing. And I was interested in how he was going to deal with that, because it can be paradoxical to write a treatise on how to be happy and say the more that you search for happiness, the less you're going to get it. So what do you search for? But again, I think that's kind of the central point of the book.
It is, but do you find that it's been reconciled?
No, it's not been reconciled. Reading it, thinking of you especially, it's not reconciled for you because
why me?
Because I think this is where he focuses on reason giving, motivating you to virtue. I am satisfied with what he says, which is something I truly have come to believe, which is live your life in such a manner that you think you will be a good person. And the side effect will probably be happiness, but it might not be. And I think that's okay. That, he has this example of planting corn might give rise to flowers blooming. But that's not why you planted the corn. But nonetheless, it's likely to happen that you'll get the flowers. And that's the happiness that I think. When you take a step back and say, well, then why are you writing this treatise? Isn't it to be happy? Yeah. So he could have just called it How to Be Virtuous and just said, but if it's practical advice, I think it's good practical advice.
I agree with you in the sense that it's good practical advice not to just try to optimize your happiness. You have to find things that you do for their own sake. He talks about virtue that will have the effect of making you fulfilled or flourish. This is the kind of eudaimonic happiness that we're talking about. It's not just being in a good mood. But at the same time, like the way I understand Stoicism is it is about how to live a eudaimonic life. I mean, that it's true that they think virtue is coextensive with that, and that they think that pleasure doesn't begin to describe what like a happy or virtuous life is, even though pleasure may be contingently attached to aspects of it. But I do kind of think of Stoicism as a guide to a happy life. And so you can't just say that the ultimate goal is virtue and pretend that happiness is disconnected with that. Like, it's not just, hopefully you'll also be happy. It is, no, this is being happy.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's still unclear what the connection between being virtuous and that happiness really is on his view. I'm not quite sure what it is. Like how that's supposed to make you happy, aside from just the direct advice about like not, not indulging in pleasure too much and
not being a slave to fortune, which I think is like the fundamental tenet of Stoicism, as I understand it, is you worry about the things that are in your control, but anything that's not in your control, you make yourself immune to being affected by that in a way that relates to your happiness.
Yeah.
Which isn't the same thing as in a way that affects your pleasure. And actually, one of the interesting aspects of this essay is its focus on what they call preferred indifference, things that don't have relevance to whether you're happy or eudaimonic or whether you're good or virtuous, but all things considered, you'd rather have them than not have them, like health, like your family living, being alive, like good friends, like wealth, like money. In this essay especially, there is less biting of the bullet than in other Stoic works that I've read. Yeah. There is a real attempt to reconcile the life of a fairly ambitious politician who enjoys having sumptuous dinners and enjoys the fruits of being famous and well respected, while at the same time, trying to be a Stoic. One other thing about Seneca that we didn't even mention is he's like a playwright that wrote some seriously fucked up plays, like tragedies that I remember reading this like 10 years ago, like a tragedy by Seneca, and it was like one of the most disturbing, fucked up things that I've read. Like that has that kind of Roman Ovid, like the things that these people came up with. It goes even beyond the Greeks in terms of just how dark and depraved it can be. And that's another thing that's like, where does that come into his whole philosophy of life?
Did I read right that Shakespeare's tragedies, some of them were inspired by Seneca?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. But I will say this, like it is unfair, as he points out many times, to criticize his philosophy just because he is wealthy. Like what, he's like, what else is he supposed to do? Not be wealthy. He has this section
be a little poorer, probably.
He has this section where he's very much like, am I supposed to give away all my money? Like, what point is that? And then am I supposed to give it away to people who are going to squander it? Like, no.
Like, you look like you want my money.
Exactly. This episode of Very Bad Wizards is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. I truly believe that there are times when we are the better version of ourselves throughout our life. And maybe if you reflect, you can realize that sometimes in retrospect. But when you're not, when you're feeling overwhelmed, or when life is bogging you down, or you're not showing up in the way you want to, working with a therapist can help you get back to that closer version of the good you, the best you. And working with a therapist can help you feel empowered and make you better prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. I firmly believe in the power of therapy to help individuals get over major serious mental health issues like severe depression or anxiety, but also to learn things like knowing how to set boundaries or improving your coping skills or time management skills. improving the way that you deal with frustration in your everyday life or in your relationships. Not only have I recommended therapy in general to my friends and relatives and loved ones, I've recommended BetterHelp specifically as a solution for now a number of friends and relatives who are going through a troubling time, whether it was because of personal issues or because they were looking for help in their relationship. And every single one of them has told me that they had a wonderful experience, a positive experience with the therapists. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. I mean, it's just an online service for therapy, and therapy is a good thing. It's convenient, it's flexible, it's affordable, it's entirely online, and all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire. You'll get matched with a licensed therapist within 48 hours, but in my experience, a lot sooner. And importantly, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge if you just simply don't believe that that therapist was a good fit for your needs. So if you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/VBW today and get 10% off of your first month. That's BETTERHELP.com/VBW. Our thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode of Very Bad Wizards.
One of the things this essay, I guess it's a letter to his brother or something.
Yeah.
A little short on is the details of what it means to be a Stoic.
Yeah. And also on what it means to be virtuous. Like I wasn't quite sure. Aside from listing a few things, like being honorable.
Being honorable, living in harmony with nature.
But
again,
I was going to ask
that amounts to.
What does that mean, actually? Because is that just a Stoic saying, like to live in accordance with nature? Like, I think I was reading, about Nietzsche critiquing it by saying, like, how are you supposed to not like live against nature? What does that even mean?
What would that, like, we're natural beings, so anything that we do is living according to nature. I think it's more not resisting nature, not resisting the fact that we're going to die. Something that you should think about. Not resisting when you're sick, you're sick. Don't bitch about it. Don't complain about it. That's just part of living a human life, is that you're sick, you're in pain. You might face some threats to your safety. Don't fight these things. Don't try to conquer them. Just use your reason. Figure out like what it is that you have control of. And then whatever you don't have control of, you just accept as this is what it amounts to live a human life. And don't grind your teeth about it and push back against it. Almost not surrender to it, because that sounds too passive, but live in accordance with it, live in the flow of it. This is some of the stuff that it reminds me most of some of the Buddhist teachings, because it really is about acceptance and not trying to change the way things are, but figuring out a way to live in harmony with it.
Right. So in my translation, he says, true wisdom consists in not departing from nature and in molding our conduct according to her laws and model. A happy life, therefore, is one which is in accordance with its own nature and cannot be brought about unless, in the first place, the mind be sound and remain so without interruption, and next be bold and vigorous, enduring all things with most admirable courage, suited to the times in which it lives, careful of the body and its appurtenances, yet not troublesomely careful.
Yeah. Right. It's like a middle way, like a middle path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It must also set due value upon all the things which adorn our lives without overestimating any one of them, and must be able to enjoy the bounty of fortune without becoming her slave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Seneca emphasizes here, which I like, that a lot of the other Stoics don't. He's less down on pleasure in this, even though he's very critical at times of the Epicurean school. He's less down on pleasure than some of the other Stoics. And so it comes across, I don't know, more human. There's something about Seneca that I feel like is more open to just, yes, there's some good things, like the dice can roll your way and there's nothing wrong with appreciating that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I liked it for that reason as well. And, one of the things he says a few times is, it's hard to know how much he meant it, but I believed him when he says, you could criticize me and say, "Well, look, you have all this money and all this all these pleasures," and he says, "Well, then take my money away and let's see how I deal with it versus how you deal."
Yeah.
and I think he is really trying to emphasize, take the good with the bad, and you can't make either of them your focus. If you pick it up, you have to lay it down, and it really, I think, is deeply wise, but it can sound very easy. It kind of the thing that's kind of easy to say.
Well, especially since there's no real guidance about how to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea sounds great. Enjoy when the dice roll your way, but be unperturbed when it goes against you. Right. You know, if people are unfairly criticizing you, if you're just getting exiled for no reason, or if you're getting told to kill yourself for no reason, well, you know, it's all good because you have lived a life of virtue and you have trained for this. But what is this training? And the more you get into the details about how are you supposed to not be perturbed when a loved one dies or when you are, close to death, the things you have to do to get to that place might not be that attractive or conducive to what you consider a flourishing life.
Yeah. Am I right to read that one of the things that he's trying to say is that one of the reasons to not indulge or seek pleasure is because, which is the idea that if you embrace pleasure, then pain is going to hurt that much more. So don't indulge pleasure. In that way, you're kind of training yourself to also not wallow in pain.
Well, you become, we know this, right? You become dependent on pleasures.
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden, if you just get in the habit, like I am, of just having a few drinks every night when you come home, then all of a sudden when you're not able to do that, you're going to be perturbed internally. You're going to feel like, oh, I got to figure out how to deal with that. I have to figure out, with any kind of addiction, with phones, even with friendships that are suddenly taken away from you, or these are real pleasures that you get from them, but there's a danger of getting too attached to them, too dependent on them, too habitually inclined to indulge in them, that when you lose the opportunity, as can happen through no fault of your own, you will then become unhappy, weak, and like he says, ferocity is born from weakness. So you'll just become a really bad person at that point. When you feel weak, when you feel like you're not in control, that's when we're at our worst.
Yeah, I like that. So you've built your house on like a foundation of contingency that you have no control over. And yeah, this is why, by the way, No Nut November is so difficult.
Right, exactly. And because
one becomes accustomed to certain pleasures,
to nutting in November, and then all of a sudden,
yeah. So this is like, a while ago in our AUAs and our Ask Us Anything, we were talking about our daughters seeking advice from the artificial intelligences created from our transcripts of our episodes. But it got me thinking about the advice that we would actually give our children. And this is the kind of thing that I want my daughter to read this and have it sink in, and to actually, I do feel like so much of the suffering that she has in her life, to the extent that she has a very good life, but it is because she's not stoic enough, you know? Like, she's dealing with the way life can go is hard when you're young, because you haven't had much life, you haven't had much experience. And if you've had a good life at all, it can be a real rude awakening when all of a sudden things go poorly, as they're going to, inevitably.
They're bound.
They're bound to. If you live long enough, they're bound to.
Yeah. But so, and this is always the issue with Stoicism. It's like, well, are some of those dependencies, are some of those passionate commitments to things also part of what's making life good in the first place,
Yeah.
And I think that this is definitely one where both things can be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's no way it's not true that Gen Z could be a little more stoic. Like that it would do them a little good to be a little more stoic, I think. And not just Gen Z, although that's their reputation, but millennials too, and also boomers. That's it. Those are the only generations that need to be more. No, I mean, like certainly me. Like I feel that that's probably I might even be more true of me than it is of my daughter, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself. But it's also true, I think it's also true that some of those attachments that you have are part of why life is good in the first place. I know we've said that a lot, but
it's hard. It's hard. I do think that as I get older and, for instance, I lose more loved ones, or just whatever, the various things that happen in life that don't go your way, that I feel like I have a better understanding sort of along the lines of what Seneca is trying to say. I have a better understanding of what it means to not, like how to still enjoy the things you have and the relationships you have and even the material goods you have with at least some understanding that at any moment they could all be taken away. And like, for instance, you and I have talked before about, well, what if you weren't a professor? What if like you couldn't be a professor of philosophy? I feel like I'd be fine. Like I love what I do, but I'd find something else to do. And if I could be that way about everything in my life, then I would feel like maybe I'm not being contradictory by saying don't get too attached.
Yeah. I agree with you. And especially when it comes to my job or, maybe less my relationships.
Those are the hard ones. The attachment to other human beings is the thing that I find the hardest to reconcile, where it's like, no, I'm not going to, like, I would really be devastated if anything happened to my daughter. Like, and I don't mind that I would be like shattered. Like, in this weird morbid way.
It would be wrong not to be.
Like if you ever think about it, like, I don't know if you, like me, have dark thoughts sometimes, like what would happen if anything happened to my daughter. I'd be like, it might be suicidal. Like, and that's okay.
Yeah. Right. That's okay to be that. And then, who knows, like what would really will hopefully never find out. But like, it feels like I don't aspire to shrug it off or even to, because I think that's unfair to the Stoics to say you're supposed to shrug it off like, like it is if you lose on a bad beat in a poker hand or something like that. But I also think in some ways it's not unfair to them, and that needs to be maybe more directly addressed, that issue, because this has always been the issue. It doesn't seem like something to aspire to. That's the kind of vulnerability that it seems like are part of what constitutes a flourishing life and even a virtuous life. Yeah. At least the way I understand virtue.
Yeah. And I think, like, as we've discussed many times, like a source of meaning. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was like how down he seems about pleasure. So there are various times where he just, when using the word pleasure, he describes it as, like, here's an example. Pleasure is low, slavish, weak, perishable. Its haunts and homes are the brothel and the tavern. It's weird that the association of anything pleasurable is so base. It like really reminds me of like the hardest core Christians that where it's like anything that is pleasurable is associated with sin.
So that's funny because I did not get that impression with this, and I sometimes do from the Stoics, but I actually thought when he's criticizing the Epicureans, he seems to be doing it not in a way that says pleasure is debased and low as much as it cannot be the reason that you do things. It can't be what you structure your life around, which is what, at least in the beginning, he says the Epicureans do. They are trying to live a life that minimizes pain and that maximizes the pleasure, and that is the wrong orientation to have. And the thing that you don't want is to be only cultivating virtue in order to have a pleasurable life.
Yeah.
But pleasure in itself isn't bad or even something to turn up your nose at, was my sense.
You're right. He does say that. But he also says, one sentence later, he says, you will find pleasure skulking out of sight, seeking for shady nooks at the public baths, hot chambers, and places which dread the visits of the edile, soft, effeminate, reeking of wines and perfumes, pale or perhaps painted and made up with cosmetics. There is a little bit of dissing pleasure.
Totally.
Yeah.
And especially of what it seems like sensual pleasure.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. Yeah.
And in that way it does have that kind of Christian element. And also Socrates, at least as Plato describes him, has this idea that pleasure in and of itself, it's not something that you should banish from your life, but it's a little bit animalistic. It's a little bit the thing that's going to pull you away from virtue in some way and pull you away from the good life because, and I think this is right, it traps you. He keeps saying, I enjoy pleasure when it comes to me, but you're a slave to it.
Yeah.
And it's the being a slave to it that I think is the real problem. And pleasure, our lives are kind of dealing with how we can both incorporate that into our lives without becoming too dependent on it. And I'm not good at that. I could use to be more stoic when it comes to that.
Right.
And I say that without thinking that it's base in any way.
Yeah. So one of the things that he's saying about pleasure is that maybe helps explain to me why he thinks this way is that it is impermanent and changeable. It says pleasure dies at the very moment when it charms us most. It has no great scope and therefore it soon cloys and wearies us and fades away as soon as its first impulse is over. Indeed, we cannot depend upon anything whose nature is to change. It's just unreliable. It's capricious.
But then he also says that he holds the opinion. He says, and I'm different from other Stoics, that he says that the teachings of Epicurus are upright and holy, and if you consider them closely, austere, for his famous doctrine of pleasure is reduced to small and narrow proportions, and that the rule that we Stoics lay down for virtue, the same rule he lays down for pleasure, he bids that it obey nature. But it takes very little luxury to satisfy nature. And the Epicureans were about that too, like they didn't want to be dependent on contingencies any more than the Stoics did, which is why they tried to cultivate habits that didn't require a lot of luxury and didn't require a lot of things that were out of your control to happen. So I think this essay, he shows, after criticizing a school of Epicureanism, also that the two are much closer than people commonly assume.
Right.
He says it's undeserved that they have a bad name, that they are an academy of vice.
So having just said what he said about pleasure being just changing and fleeting and not something that you want to base your life on, he contrasts it with virtue, and he says, do you ask what I seek from virtue? I answer, herself, for she has nothing better. She is her own reward. Does this not appear great enough when I tell you that the highest good is an unyielding strength of mind, wisdom, magnanimity, sound judgment, freedom, harmony, beauty? Do you still ask me for something greater, of which these may be regarded as the attributes? It sounds like he's saying virtue. It sounds almost Platonic, like the virtues are immutable and eternal.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're this, like beauty and harmony are things to seek that will never change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I think that is what they think. And I think it is very Platonic. It is in line with some of the later Plato stuff where this is the only thing that is real, that is unchanging. The real and the unchanging are the same thing. So yeah, I mean, I think they go hand in hand in that way. It's just like with Plato, but he maybe even more so, less clear why.
Yeah.
With the Stoics.
Right.
Plato has a metaphysics that I can wrap my head around that kind of justifies that, but there's no like allegory of the cave for Stoics, at least in the stuff that I've read.
Right. It's funny when you first were bringing up the topic and said something about metaphysics. I was like, well, what would the Stoics even care about metaphysics? Like, it just seems like practical advice for life. But it's true. Like when you start pulling the thread, you are left with this question of, okay, like, are we seeking virtues because these are universal truths to which we should all aspire? And if so, then what does that mean? Like, there is some deep question there about that might be metaphysical that he just never talks about.
Well, especially the alignment with virtue and flourishing or happiness or eudaimonia. Like,
Yeah.
I do think that if you want to maintain that it's possible to be guaranteed a flourishing life by living according to what you have control of, living according to reason, which you love, and living according to nature, and that as long as you do that, you're guaranteed a happy life. It does take a rational universe for that to make sense, you know?
Right.
And this is where I think the Epicureans, in my view, are more, I don't know, they're more accurate, they're more realistic in that, no, you might just get fucked. And Aristotle, too. You might just get fucked. There's a lot of things that if the roulette wheel comes on the whatever, 2 zeros, the greens, there's nothing you can do. You're fucked, right? And the Stoics are strongly committed to the view that that's not true. That as hard and as maybe impossible to attain as the ideal is, it does exist. And the only way that that could be true is if the universe at a fundamental metaphysical level is rational.
Yeah.
And that's my feeling about the connection between the metaphysics and the ethics there.
Yeah.
But I think you could abandon the metaphysics, slightly alter Stoicism, maybe make it a little bit less certain about the connection between virtue and happiness, and then it would still be mostly recognizable for what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I really liked this, and I think you've expressed this as well. Like, I wanted there to be more concrete advice, and I don't know if that's a flaw in this. Like, I don't know if this is I don't know if that's what he even cared to do, but I did wish there was a little bit more meat to the, like, how am I supposed to go about doing this? I don't know.
Well, yeah, and it's not fair in some ways because this is the 0.01%
Exactly,
of the Stoic writings
Right.
that even Seneca has written, never mind like all the other Stoics. And I think they're good in terms of giving a good amount of practical advice without also giving you a 12-step program or
Right.
whatever, you know,
Right.
like they don't pretend that it can be made that precise. I almost feel like that's more our fault in terms of what we chose. Not that there would have been an easy one to choose,
Yeah.
but I think this essay's focus is on distinguishing between Epicurean philosophy and also kind of reconciling the fact that Stoics don't live like Diogenes, like in ditches and don't scorn all the traditional ways that other people, like all the ambitions and hopes and desires of normal non-Stoics.
Yeah.
It tries to reconcile having those desires with the Stoic view. But you're right. There's not. How are you supposed to make yourself this immune to the swings of fortune?
Yeah.
He doesn't really say other than not to get too attached to pleasure.
And maybe that's enough. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe that is enough. Maybe just thinking about like not being attached is a good step. Like, I mean, maybe I don't need a list of rules. Maybe the point is to think more about how I just arrange my values. Right. I don't think
it's more that. Well, I mean, I don't think it's quite just how you arrange your values, but like say something that both of us have gotten addicted to, all the Wordle games, right? You know, like these kind of trivial things that nevertheless are kind of fun. You know, would Seneca say, it's a little unclear from the essay. Don't start getting too attached to that to the point where if you go a day or a couple days or a week without doing it, it's going to perturb you. You know, it's going to lead to inner turmoil in some way. And so I think you're always supposed to be a little cautious of things like that. Never mind something like drinking or drugs or that's part of it, right? Like you should start being suspicious when you start getting too dependent on things for your day-to-day happiness and security.
Yeah. So maybe the advice just follows that you should audit yourself. I remember I used to do this thing I haven't done it in years. Every once in a while I would quit caffeine just to see that I could.
Yeah.
And so I would go, I would like whatever. For a month, I'd be like, no caffeine. And it was miserable for the first week or two. Like the first 3 days, I'm just napping constantly. And I thought at some point, well, why do this to myself? Like I can drink caffeine whenever I want. Like it's not like I'm going to never be
at a risk of being taken away from you.
Right. But maybe that kind of discipline is what I need to bring back to my life, to just like practice not doing certain things that I've become dependent on.
No, not November.
Not November. I seriously
think that is the idea behind it, right?
Yeah.
Like
I've seriously considered doing something like controlling my phone. Like even, I don't think I could ever do this, getting like a dumb phone, you know, so that I'm not I do feel like I am too attached.
Me too. And I think there's so many things like that. And then you realize like how much of my day I was like spending on ensuring that all these things are taken care of and that I have access to all these things that I've become like part of my day-to-day life. I'm like, this can't be good for me, you know? And I don't do things like sober September or whatever, or like, I don't do any of that. People will say, I wanted to go a month without drinking to, like you said, to see if I can. And it's like, well, I'm sure I could, but that's the wrong attitude. Like it is probably a valuable thing to deprive yourself of things. Yeah. I'm probably a little better than, or I used to be with my phone because I would have these devices that would disconnect me from the internet and all of that. Yeah. But you start to be less vigilant about those things, and all of a sudden you're dependent on it in ways that aren't transparent to you. And I think the Stoics are right to point out that this is the kind of thing that naturally happens to human beings if you aren't focused enough on what's good for you.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe that's the takeaway. Gonna just stop talking to you on my phone.
Stop texting.
For one, I'm too dependent on our friendship. I'm going to list out I think I'm going to do something like list out or time track like what I do, you know, like I spend, that should have been my guilty confession, how much fucking time I spend just like watching YouTube videos, scrolling through Instagram or Twitter, playing those fucking word games. That's like the bulk of my life right now.
Just think of all the times where you just look at your phone because you have nothing else to do and you feel that little twinge of anxiety about like thing, and you just want to distract yourself from it. Like it would be really good for, and this is, I think, so squarely within the Stoic ideal of just dealing with that, like that little bit of unpleasant anxiety rather than looking to repress it in some way or distract yourself from it, you know? Yeah.
I'm inspired, Tambler. I'm inspired. Seneca has inspired me.
I am inspired too. Although I don't know what exactly.
Like tomorrow. Yeah. What are you going to do tomorrow?
We'll still be sending each other shit.
I'm not going to not send you my octoordal score.
No. Definitely not. I mean, that's fine, right? It's just, we'll do that in February. No octoordal October. How about that?
No set of Cordal September. But like one by one.
All right. I hope this was satisfying to those stoic listeners who wanted us to do this. And if not, well, you shouldn't be dependent on us doing a good,
That's right.
a good podcast on
It serves
stoicism.
you right.
And that's on you. Yeah. All right. Join us next time on Very Bad Wizards.
The great and boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.